Nobody is thinking about you right now. Not your coworker, not your ex, not the person you waved to this morning who didn't wave back. They're not judging you. They're not watching you. They're too busy living inside their own heads, worrying about their own mistakes, their own image, their own lives. And the day you truly understand that, everything changes. Most of us grow up believing the world has its eyes on us. You say the wrong thing in a meeting and you replay it for days. You stumble over your words on a first date and you cringe about it for weeks. You post something online and immediately wonder, what are people going to think? We carry this invisible audience everywhere we go, and we start making choices based on that audience, not based on what we actually want. We dress for them. We talk for them. We shrink ourselves to fit into what we think they expect. Some people spend their entire lives performing for an audience that stopped watching a long time ago. Maybe you felt it. That constant low-level anxiety of being observed, judged, measured. That feeling that one wrong move and people will finally see through you. Here's the truth. They won't. Because they're not looking. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it the spotlight effect, the tendency we have to believe we are far more noticed than we actually are. Studies have shown that people consistently overestimate how much others notice their mistakes, their appearance, and their behavior. The spotlight we feel burning down on us? Most of the time, it's not even on. And once you sit with that, really sit with it, something shifts. Because here's what's actually happening. The people around you are absorbed in their own spotlight effect. They're worried you're judging them. They're replaying their own awkward moments. They're trying to manage their own image. Everyone is the main character in their own story. And in most people's stories, you're a minor character. Maybe even a background extra. That's not cruel. That's just honest. And honestly, it's the most liberating thing you'll ever hear. When you stop needing people to notice you, you become free to actually do things worth noticing. Think about the decisions you've put off because of what someone might think. The business you haven't started, the class you haven't signed up for, the apology you haven't given, the dream you've kept quiet because you were afraid of looking foolish. All of that waiting that was for an audience that was never there. The most courageous people aren't the ones who stopped caring about failure. They're the ones who stopped caring about how failure looks to everyone else. They failed quietly, adjusted, and kept going. And that's exactly why they eventually won publicly. No one cares about you the way you fear they do. But once you accept that, you start caring about yourself the way you always should have. So, what does this actually look like in practice? First, start making decisions based on what you want, not what looks good. Ask yourself, if no one would ever find out about this choice, would I still make it? If the answer is yes, that's probably the right direction. Second, stop performing recovery. When you mess up, you don't need to over-explain it, publicly apologize for it, or stage a dramatic comeback. Just correct course and move forward. Most people won't remember it by next week. Third, invest your energy inward. The time you spend monitoring how others perceive you is time you could spend building something real. Skill, knowledge, character. None of that requires an audience. Fourth, let people think what they want. You cannot control a single thought in someone else's mind. But you can control how you spend the next hour of your life. Redirect your focus there. Here's the paradox that no one talks about. The more desperately you need people to care about you, the less you invest in becoming someone worth caring about. But the moment you stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for someone to validate your worth, your ideas, your direction, that's the moment you actually start becoming someone. People who changed the world didn't do it because the world applauded them on the way up. Most of them were ignored, doubted, or told they were wrong. They kept going anyway, not because they had no feelings, but because they had stopped outsourcing their confidence. You were not born needing approval. You learned to need it, and anything you've learned you can unlearn. The moment you realize no one is watching, that is the moment you become the one worth watching. Nobody is coming to give you permission. Nobody is waiting anxiously to see if you succeed. Nobody is holding their breath hoping you don't embarrass yourself. The world is not a courtroom and you are not on trial. You are just a person with an entire life sitting in front of you who has been spending too much time worrying about what someone in the back row thinks. Walk out of the back row. Stop being a spectator in your own story. Because the day you realize no one cares about you, that's not the end. That's the beginning. If something in this video hit home, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's one thing you've been holding back because of what someone else might think? I read every single one. And if this is something someone you know needs to hear right now, share it with them. Sometimes the right words at the right moment change everything. Subscribe if you're working on building a version of yourself that needs no audience. I'll see you in the next one.